Hello everyone, this is Relative Security, and today we are going to talk about data recovery and network infrastructure management. As you know, we are doing the series on critical controls, critical security controls. So this is our, I think, this is one more episode. So let's start and talk about data recovery. The aim of this control is to develop robust data recovery protocols to ensure the restoration of enterprise assets to a trusted state following an incident. Let's say there is an incident that has happened. Okay. Hello everyone, this is Relative Security, and today we are going to talk about two more controls. One is data recovery and the other is network infrastructure management. As you know, we are doing a complete series on enterprise security, where we are in particular talking about critical security controls. And today we will talk about data recovery. So, data recovery is all about developing robust data recovery protocols to ensure the restoration of enterprise assets to a trusted state following any incident. Okay. If there are any incident in your environment, we need to uphold these protocols very clearly and diligently to promptly restore operations and safeguard the integrity of organizational data. So let's talk about the criticality of this control, why this is very important. As we are talking about the data, the first and foremost thing that comes to mind is the availability of the data, because it is often considered the most critical, even more than the confidentiality in influencing the business decisions. For instance, transportation enterprises heavily rely on timely and accurate weather information to plan routes and schedules effectively. If this data becomes unavailable or lacks trustworthiness, it can have a profound impact on the operations of these enterprises, leading to delays, disruptions, and potential financial losses. Therefore, ensuring the availability and reliability of the data is of paramount importance for maintaining the smooth functioning of businesses across various sectors. This is just one example that we discussed. For example, you are in a bank. The bank needs the data right away to serve and provide services to their customers. Same is the case for any other enterprise in any other sector to ensure that their critical services are being delivered. Now, one more aspect when it comes to data is the backup management. Recent backups or mirrors play a critical role in restoring enterprise assets and data to a known trusted state, particularly in scenarios involving compromise or human error. The attacks can happen anytime. Your data can be affected. Data can become unavailable, which we have already discussed that the data availability is of critical importance. The data integrity might be compromised. Your systems can be compromised. In all these scenarios where you cannot trust the current infrastructure, you need to go back to the backups. That's why the backups are important. By adhering to effective data recovery practices, organizations can mitigate the impact of various threats, including malicious actions, human errors, or incidents such as ransomware attacks. For example, if a ransomware attack encrypts critical data, having recent backups allows organizations to restore the affected systems to a pre-attack state, minimizing the downtime and data loss. Therefore, maintaining up-to-date backups and implementing robust data recovery strategies are quite essential for a comprehensive cybersecurity posture of your organization. Last but not the least, ransomware threat, which we have already discussed. Um, Ransomware attacks have seen a notable surge in the recent years, emerging as a lucrative avenue for attackers to generate profit. These attacks have evolved beyond mere encryption tactics, now encompassing extortion methods where attackers exfiltrate data before encryption and demand payment to prevent its sale or disclosure. In such scenarios, having recent backups becomes indispensable for data recovery. However, organizations can further mitigate ransomware risks by enhancing cyber hygiene practices guided by CIS controls. By addressing vulnerabilities and reducing the attack surface, organizations can bolster their resilience against ransomware attacks and minimize the potential impact on their operations and data integrity. Now, we understand the data availability, backup management, and ransomware threats are some of the things that should be considered when it comes to data recovery. But what exactly needs to be done? The first and foremost is to establish and maintain a data recovery process. Your data can be compromised. We should keep it in mind when you're defining data processes that it can be compromised. We need to have backups and we need to recover the data. For that, you need to have process. It is of utmost importance to set up and sustain a structured data recovery system. Data recovery procedures should be integrated into the data management process. It involves defining the scope of the data recovery activities, prioritizing recovery efforts, and ensuring the security of the backup data. Regular review and updating of documentation are essential to keep the process relevant and effective, especially in response to significant changes within the enterprise. Data recovery protocols ought to be delineated within the data management framework. This entails devising backup strategies contingent upon factors like data value, sensitivity, or retention prerequisites. Such delineations aids in establishing the frequency and the type of backups, whether full or incremental. Now, the backup should be automated and it should be evaluated periodically. Backups should occur regularly, at least weekly or more frequently, depending on the sensitivity of the data being backed up. This ensures that the data loss is minimized and recovery can be swift in the event of disruption. Periodically, typically once per quarter or upon the introduction of new backup processes or technologies, a testing team should conduct an assessment. This entails evaluating a random selection of backups and endeavoring to restore them within the controlled test environment. Verification of the restored backups is imperative to ensure the integrity and functionality of the operating system, applications, and data therein. Lastly, recovery protection. We need to protect the recovery data. Here, the focus is solely on the safeguarding recovery data with controls equal to those applied to the original data. This may involve employing encryption or data separation techniques based on specific requirements. So, by ensuring the security of recovery data, the integrity and confidentiality of the restored information are preserved. Organizations should maintain a separate and isolated instance of recovery data. This can be achieved through practices such as version controlling backup destinations using offline, cloud-based, or off-site systems or services. Isolating recovery data helps prevent it from being compromised or affected by the same incidents that impact the primary data. That's all from data recovery, and now we will move towards network infrastructure management. Now, this is another critical control. Network infrastructure management refers to the process of establishing, implementing, and actively managing network devices within the organization's IT infrastructure. This includes routers, switches, firewalls, and other network components. The basic goal of network infrastructure management is to prevent attackers from exploiting vulnerable network services and access points by continuously tracking, reporting, and correcting any issues or vulnerabilities that may arise. This involves tasks such as configuration management, monitoring network performance, implementing security measures, and ensuring compliance with organizational policies and industry standards. Let's talk about the criticality of the control. The first and foremost is secure network infrastructure. Securing network infrastructure is crucial in defending against attacks. This involves implementing a robust security architecture, addressing vulnerabilities introduced by default settings, monitoring for changes, and regularly reassessing configurations. Network devices like gateways, firewalls, routers, and switches are often targeted due to the default vulnerabilities, such as open services, default accounts, and outdated protocols. Attackers exploit these vulnerabilities to breach defenses, redirect traffic, and intercept data. As network security is dynamic, continuous evaluation of architecture, configurations, and access controls is essential. Failure to remove outdated exceptions or adequately assess security risks associated with exceptions can compromise network security over time. So, in simpler terms, securing network infrastructure means setting up a strong defense to protect against cyber attacks. This involves making sure that the default settings of network devices are secure, monitoring for any changes, and regularly checking and updating configurations. So network devices like gateways, firewalls, routers, and switches, they are often targeted by attackers because of their default vulnerabilities such as open services or outdated protocols. Attackers exploit these weaknesses to breach defenses and steal data. It's important to keep evaluating and updating security measures because network security is always changing. Failure to do so can lead to security breaches over time. So, what are the different activities that are associated with the network infrastructure management? Of course, the network infrastructure and architecture. First, to ensure robustness and security of the network infrastructure, it's crucial to maintain current software versions by implementing the latest stable releases and leveraging supported network as a service options. Regular review of the software versions, ideally on a monthly basis, is essential to confirm ongoing support and address any potential vulnerabilities promptly. Employing practices like version controlled infrastructure as code enhances manageability and scalability while ensuring consistency across the network environment. When it comes to architecture, developing a secure network architecture is crucial for ensuring the protection of organizational assets and data. This involves addressing key principles such as segmentation, least privilege, and availability to create a resilient network infrastructure. To achieve this, organizations should implement practices such as version controlled infrastructure as a code and prioritize the use of secure protocols like SSH and HTTPS for communication between network components. Additionally, it is essential to regularly update and maintain the architecture diagrams and other network documentation to reflect any changes or updates accurately. And these documents should be reviewed, I think, around at least annually. When it comes to centralized networks, implementing centralized authentication, authorization, and auditing AAA mechanisms for network access control is essential for maintaining a secure network infrastructure. By centralizing these functions, organizations can effectively manage user access and permissions across their network environment. Authentication verifies the identity of users or devices attempting to connect to the network, while Authorization determines the level of access granted to the authenticated entities. Additionally, auditing tracks and logs network activity for accountability and compliance purposes. To ensure robust security, it's imperative to implement authenticated virtual private network connections and authentication services for remote devices before granting access to enterprise resources. Lastly, maintaining dedicated computing resources. The importance of creating specialized computing resources solely dedicated to administrative tasks within an organization is very critical. These resources should be isolated either physically or logically, meaning they are separated from the primary network infrastructure used for regular business operations. Additionally, they should be restricted from accessing the internet. So that's it from the today's video. We discussed two controls, network infrastructure management and data recovery processes. Both are very critical and they must be discussed and documented and implemented within the environment. If you have any queries, please don't forget to comment or email us at connect@relativesecurity.com and we will come back to you. Thank you so much for your time and don't forget to like, subscribe and share this video.